Yeah.
Bric is back. Bric is back. Come join us one more time this week for your daily dose of love and peace. Bric is back.
We are back.
Bric
Bric
is back.
We're back.
Bric is back. Bric is back. Hello.
Welcome, one and all, and caterpillars, butterflies, human beings.
Wow, Misha, you are fully into the greenness today.
I am really feeling very connected to nature today.
It's not that easy being green.
I've been outside in the garden, and actually we've got to share your smile, and the man who is coming is going to take us into his garden.
Yes, that sounds like a super exciting share your smile. So for everyone else, this week's episode's got some really amazing things lined up for you. We have a foraging workshop that we're going to be doing. So anything that you have, any questions that you want to ask, please get them ready, and you can join in live and you can ask them to me, as we're going to take you through them as well. And we've got a martial arts tutorial, so get ready for that as well. Make sure you've got a little bit of space. You can do it in your living room, you can do it any way you want, but get ready to get the Kung Fu Power ready for you there. But yeah, we've got an amazing Bric coming up, I think. Bric is back. Bric is back.
Don't you look back. At the moment here. Yeah. No fear. Ready to rock and roll.
Have fantastic share your smile.
Thank you. Oh, I've got it. I'm back. Don't worry. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome again, one and all, to our Share Your Smile. I'm really glad to be here and once again on this Tuesday, and I have a very, very special guest. Now, this guest is all the way in America. So that's why it's so amazing to have Zoom and to have the internet so that we can connect. And his name is Mike. Give us a wave, Mike.
Hello.
Hello there. Tell us, where are you, Mike?
Hello. I'm pretending to have an English accent. I'm in Michigan, right by Detroit.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah, it's like the only state that you can see from the moon, because it's got the lakes all around it. That's Michigan.
Oh, lovely. Great. And
yeah, it's also the only big city in America where we're north of Canada. You have to go south to get to Canada because the bridge goes underneath on the peninsula. Yeah.
Wow. Cool, man. And have you lived there all your life, or?
No.
No,
not even close. Yeah, I traveled a lot in my 20s. I wanted to be like a reclusive, like a philosopher who lived on a hippie commune type of thing. You know, I think it's a common dream for the young people. And so I spent a lot of time traveling around and working in different jobs and trying different communes and different communities and learning about self-reliance in that way. And yeah, it was exciting because the way I grew up is like a suburban lifestyle. So you don't really understand the whole process of bringing nature into the kitchen and then into the cupboard and then back out to the compost bin and working the systems. And so this is the first time that I've actually had my own garden.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And you can see right here that I'm. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask if you've been doing a lot of gardening recently since.
Yeah, I definitely have. My friend Brian came over yesterday, and because I have a disability with my ulcer, and so it's hard for me to do a lot of physical. It's not hard, but afterwards I can be really, really in bad shape for weeks if I overexert myself, because your guts, I think, give you extra force. And so my friend Brian has been coming to help me and did a lot of the soil mixing, and he was over here yesterday. And we're starting now to prepare a garden bed. I'm going to slip you over really quick.
Okay.
I can't figure it out. Yeah, here it is. So this is what we just did yesterday, and it
Okay.
doesn't look like anything, but it was all grown over with like ornamental plants, what they call like horticultural plants, which have
Okay.
a sterile root systems. And so the plants that you get from a nursery, a lot of times they're a little bit sterile, like it's a tropical plant from New Guinea or someplace far away that's been adapted. And so it's no good for the soil and for the butterflies and the bees. So I decided finally I'm going to clear out this area.
Mhm.
And then I got these native plants over here at the nursery.
Wow, cool.
So that's what I'm going to put in today. And they're all like late blooming. So they're still going to be able to offer nectar for the pollinators. I'm putting in a pollinator garden. So all these plants my mom picked out because she's a little bit of a specialist with native plants. And she said to me that, yeah, the bees and butterflies are going to love it. And then they're going to go back and forth with my squash plants to make my squash really big with their pollination.
Wow. You squash like a butternut squash, or?
Yeah. So for me, that's the idea, is that I want to have, I'm going to reverse now so I can look at my face again. For me, I want to have a combination of like ecological gardening concepts and then also like humanistic or like, gardening concepts. So, and I think at the end of the day, they really go together. And a lot of the gardening, traditional gardening philosophy doesn't involve the ecological considerations at all, because it comes from a time when people thought that the world was environmentally infinite. And so a lot of people are looking for ways to have a more ecologically sensitive and sensible garden that's also more abundant. And so that's been a big part of my search, just for the last 20 years, really. And yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that I guess I like to talk about with people about gardening is the soil.
Okay.
And so it's the soil of your garden, and it's also the soil of yourself that we're working on in the process. And so like I was looking online with my friend for like tips and tricks that other people wrote about to talk about in my podcast and this interview. But the top tip that they said was just get a pot and some soil and start gardening. And for me, actually, it's a little bit the opposite. My approach is like try to really fix your sights on improving some soil and improving your own internal soil over the next like 5 years from 5 years to 20 years from now. You want to be like really working on it. So if you're coming from scratch, you just say, okay, 5 years from now, I'd like to be having a nice garden. And then maybe 1 year from now, you'll have a nice garden. But if you take the pressure off the idea of going and buying a pot and just get started, a lot of people enter into like a mental a thing where they get stuck a little bit and they're not sure what the right way is, and they're not inspired because it's just like one little pot of parsley. And so for me, I think it's really worth it to put the effort in with the intention first and just start to see what that attracts and start having conversations with your friends or with other people about different things. And, of course, show them this video so they can have all the good ideas from Mike the Gardener in Michigan. And yeah, so I'm going to walk around now, I think, and give.
Great.
Actually, you know what I think I'm going to do first? I changed my mind.
Okay.
You know me, Misha, I changed my mind a lot. We're going to look on the computer and I'm going to show you guys some pictures from the garden from the past 6 weeks so you can get caught up a little bit, and then we'll take a quick tour. How
Okay,
much time
can
do
you
have left?
share your screen? No worries, no worries.
I was going to try and do this. And
okay, that will work. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, people can see it.
Yeah,
so
we can see it. Guys can see it. Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah. So here's the first one, and you can see that I just got a bunch of pots.
Yeah.
So for me, there's not really a first step because, like I said, it's been since I was 20 that I've been like learning and doing that. But a good first step, if you do think you might want to have a potted garden next year, is just to start collecting pots and thinking about where you can get a good deal. What I really recommend for people is to bring back the idea of gardening as a neighborly and a neighborhood activity, and not just like a self-reliant activity. Because at least in the States, we have an attitude of like self-reliance with like Thoreau and all these philosophers, and they didn't want to be involved with the corrupt society and the crappy stuff and all that things. But it became almost like too much the opposite direction, where they became all about themselves. So for me, if you think about the community, you're going to have more advantages. So the first step for me, when I moved into my new place, I started collecting pots and thinking about where my garden would fit well. And then I also go for walks around the neighborhood a lot to start to connect with my neighbors. And then that gives me a sense of grounding and inspiration. And then they tell them about the garden, and then they get excited, and then they walk over and then they say hi. And we have like our whole block now has like a little community just based on me going for walks and having a garden. So yeah, so this was like April, and normally these pots would all be full in April, but with Corona and I had health problems and I was doing a storytelling show, and I was still on social media at that time, and obviously my garden was not happening. But I got the pots. Actually, this is a little shows my radical side. But a lot of these pots I got from an abandoned greenhouse, like in the middle of nowhere. I was driving to the lake and I saw this greenhouse with like vines and all this stuff, and it had been abandoned like 7 or 8 years at least. And so I got out of my car and I went in there and I went like climbing around, and there were still all these old pots, and they're starting to fall apart. You can kind of see. So they might last like 1 more year or 2 more years only. But for me, it's fun because it's Detroit. You know, there's a lot of like old buildings and neighborhoods that are abandoned, and so I was able to salvage that stuff. And then you start buying your seeds. So the big thing is to think about what you eat, already, and what's good for you. And for me, it's another important thing with gardening is to really think about your nutrition and what your body is going to be liking and wanting to eat, and that's what's going to keep you inspired. So for me, I do a lot of, well, I'll explain my garden more when we go outside, and I'm just showing about the background. So you start by buying some seeds and getting some pots, basically. And then I bought some seedlings also to get things moving a little faster. So these are mostly herbs right here, and a couple of like melons, cantaloupe, and watermelon type of things like that. And then the herbs, rosemary. This one here is called pineapple sage, which was like an herb that I hadn't heard of before. This is just regular basil and some parsley. And nasturtiums. Do you have nasturtiums in England?
I mean, probably, but I've never heard of it.
I haven't heard of it. Yeah, so it's typically thought of as a flower.
I'm not really big. I don't know much about gardens.
Yeah, no problem. So it's typically thought of as a flower, like a decorative flower, but it's also edible, and it's one of the really peppery flavors in nature, actually.
Yeah, you can eat them.
Yeah, the leaves and the flowers.
I don't know. I think I have had them. They're really nice, very sweet, colorful.
Yeah, they're sweet and also a little peppery, exactly. So then you start to buy your soil bags. Once I got my seeds, I was getting organized. Here you can see this is actually a birdhouse that I bought.
Wow.
Because it also, I put that out there, and it adds to the environmental like interest for me personally, just going outside and like seeing the birdhouse. And every day I change, a bird bath, not a birdhouse. And so every day I change the water. And so it's like my service to the birds, kind of. And it's like, I think they like it. The water is always clean in the morning for them, and it adds like, to me, that atmosphere of nature friendliness in my space that I don't want to be competing with nature. I want to be friends with them. So I bought the soil, and then I bought the bird bath to attract some animals. And then these is marigolds here, which is an orange flower. It's very common for gardens in America. It's called marigolds, and it's well reputed for being a deterrent of rabbits. It has no odor for humans, but apparently for rabbits and other smaller garden pests, it can actually work really good. And I haven't had any rabbit damage at all this year. So this was like, in April, basically, where you start to go and you buy some bags of soil and you buy some seeds. And then
now we're April, May, June, July, August, and we're in July now, the start of July, and we'd love to see your garden. I'm just aware we've only got about 9 minutes or so.
Okay, we'll go outside. Yeah. Okay. So
I think really we could make a longer version of something, Mike, because you've just got so much knowledge to share. With the world.
I could talk about it all day long.
About it forever.
I don't know if it's knowledge, but it's definitely passion.
Yeah, it shows you God.
So you can see pretty good. It looks like a sunny day, so we should be able to see everything.
We can see.
Okay,
really
so my garden as of now has 2 big sections. So you can see this section here where things are in the ground. Basically, there's some pots in there, but mostly it's in the ground and it's covered with straw. You see?
Yeah.
And then this section is just pots in the grass.
Yeah.
So, so that's the beginning, I guess. When I moved, I sited up the place and I looked where the sun was going to be. And this area right here was like, gets pretty good sun, but not the most. The most sun is out by the road.
Okay.
but I gotta like talk to the city and make sure, because sometimes they want to control like that part all out there. That's another story, but I'm thinking about getting really active and like having a whole garden on this whole area right here. My neighbor already is so excited that he said he will like finance it.
You would? You said
Yeah,
it.
yeah, he wants to like make it a little farm here in the suburbs of Detroit. And so basically, what I did the first thing was I killed the grass.
Okay.
And so what I'm trying to do is develop a really nice soil, climate, and environment in this whole area. Okay, so what I do is in the beginning of the season, I go around, and we're going to go for a little walk here. I go around and I find here in the States, when people go work in the yard, like in the beginning of spring, and they take down all the branches and they clean up the leaves. I don't know how it works in England, but here we all put it in like a paper bag and put it on the street. And then the city drives by and they take it away and they compost it wherever they do it. So for me, I drive by before the city and then I take all those bags, because that's what's called biomass, all that organic stuff from the leaves and the branches and all the pruning from the other gardeners.
Yeah.
And so then I take those bags.
Oh no, we've lost him. Or you've lost me. Which one is it? Hello? Hello?
And then on top of that, you put like some cardboard, or you put like some cardboard or some paper bags. Usually, I don't usually use plastic in my garden, but some people use plastic for a barrier. So if you look under here, this straw, you can see that I have the straw. Oh, there's no cardboard there, but yeah. So here there's like a little piece of paper, and underneath that there's this compost stuff. And so if I dig around, like right there, you can see there's a worm.
Right.
You see?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's an American worm, everybody. Oh, we've lost him again. But what a wonderful garden here, guys. He's really
that it doesn't feed any of the animals in nature. There's no roots. So there's no worms here. But in my area, the soil is already becoming fertile and abundant because it's being protected from the elements.
Great.
It's moist. There's like mushrooms now that are already in the straw. So like on certain really humid nights where there's like a lot of dew, there'll be mushrooms, like not edible mushrooms, but just mycelium that'll pop up all over this garden space.
Right.
And so those mycelium then is going to be in a symbiotic collaboration then with the roots of my plants and then with the microorganisms. They're all going to create a community in the soil.
Great.
And that's why I think all my plants are so green. Like not a single one has any type of like yellow or like leaf problems or anything like that. And I've only been fertilizing like once at the very beginning. So,
wow. So Mike, we've got only a few moments left. So I'm wondering if you had to say what's the most important thing for you for that garden to flourish and to nourish. And if you were gonna, if I wanted to make my own garden, what would you say would be the thing that you would leave me to mull over the most?
Yeah, well, the first thing is you've got to really prioritize your own well-being, and you've got to really want to have a high value in, for me at least, you want to have a high value in like nature and equality. You got to like enjoy. For me, if you're fighting against nature, then it's no fun. So you have to like enjoy the bees and enjoy the butterflies, and you have to really want them to be happy, and you have to really want your plants to be happy. You have to really think like a plant. You have to say, okay, if I put it in a pot, that's all it's going to have is whatever I put in that pot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not going to get anything else except for rain and whatever like is in the rain. So I have to, if I want my plants to be happy, I have to put good stuff in this pot for it to eat. So that's the first thing, is you got to think about the plants and really like want them to be happy. That's really, that's really the first thing. If you're going to plant plants, like don't bother if you're not going to try and have them be happy. Because these plants, like, they have places to grow around. They have other plants in the pots. And the second thing is the soil, which is related to the first one, because for the plants to be happy, they have to have a good soil. Not only the culture and the composition and you know, the neighbors of the insects and the myceliums and the other species, but also the climate needs to be a little bit regulated for most plants. They don't want it to cycle too much in hot and cold. And so when you have a mulch layer, for example, it works really good to develop the soil. And then the next thing is the neighbors. It helps a lot to have your neighbors be excited about your project with the garden. And so for me, I put a really high value on developing a positive relationship with the neighbors on my block, and walking around. And when I see someone, you know, waving, and obviously I'm moody and I'm not always friendly, but for me, it's a big priority and it gives momentum. And so once you have those three things, if you want your plants to be happy and you develop the soil and you have a good relationship with your neighbors, the last thing is just your intentions. You know, you have to really want to put good stuff in your body, and then you're going to do the work and know how that's going to benefit you, you know, next month, next year, 5 years from now, because you're starting to practice and learn. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. You know, this is my little work table. This is my little supplies that I can use for other things. And,
great, man.
Thank you so much for having me as a guest. Yeah.
That's really a lot for us to think about. Like, the garden is almost a representation of our inner landscape, and if we put our time and effort and we treat it as, you know, this is a growing thing, isn't it? These plants, they're alive and they want nourishment, and they want, you know, and you're taking on that job of being the nourisher, which in the end will nourish you. So it is all about nourishment. So thank you for this short little extract. It's nourished me, and I'm sure it's nourished our audiences. And maybe we can get you on again, or make you do a little short series or something, because I feel like you have really a lot to share. So we'll be in touch with you, Mike. Thank you so much for coming. I'll give you a round of applause. And I just want to say to anybody out there, if you want to be on Share Your Smile, then please message me. You can show us your garden, you can show us a song, a dance, whatever it is. You can cook us a meal, whatever it is, we want to hear it. So please get in contact with the Brac Abundance, and we'll have you on. So thank you, Mike. And next up, love letters coming your way. Are you ready? Because it's
hi, welcome back to Love Letters. Got some very exciting news for you this week, but I explained it earlier, so I'll just show you that. See that? There's love in there. Actually, it's good. It's love. I was going to show you. See that? Love in there. Gonna post this. Bye. Love you. Oh. This on post. See my post box. See that on the hill.
still with a loving kiss, obviously. Dear Letterbox, I love you so much. I feel fulfilled since you've come into my life. I can't wait to give you a makeover and for you to receive post. All my love. Love you. Here you go again.
So you see, now more than ever, send a letter, put it in the post box, address it to someone that you love and appreciate, and I will let them know. Mate, I'll cycle the whole box round to their gaff. Think about it. Now, here's some love and appreciation. A slightly different kind. I was quite surprised to receive this letter in the love letters letterbox inbox this week. But, you know, I guess it just shows that even people who you might think don't have emotions, you know, like CEOs of companies and just sort of like general big capitalists and stuff, they actually have got love in their hearts too.
Wow.
Here we are. Dear Boris, old boy, I hope this finds you good and well pissed. A real inconvenience to our plans, this whole virus, isn't it? Though I must say, your media team is doing a marvellous job. That bit about you having the virus was a stroke of ingenious. Anyway, the 5 mil is enclosed, re the ... deal and policy. Regards. You remember, don't you? So there we have it. Everyone loves someone. Write a letter. Put it in the post box. Write a letter. Put it in the post box. Send it in the post box. How gassed am I? Not as gassed as you're going to be when your letter gets read out next week on Love Letters. Have a lovely week.
I love her.
Hello, welcome back. Thank you so much for a wonderful share your smile about the garden. This is going to be a little bit of a similar thing. We're talking about foraging today. I don't know how many people know too much about foraging, but it's pretty much about accessing and picking different herbs. They're everywhere. They're freely growing. They're in urban areas, and they're there for us to take and use. So that's what we're going to give you, a little first step-by-step guide here today. I've got 3 mystery jars, and all of them you're going to have seen around the UK in the springtime as well. First one is this one. Maybe Misha can try and give us a guess about what you think this one is. What do you think's in here?
I think that it is tadpoles. No. Flowers, the little white flowers, snowdrops.
Little white flower snowdrops, that's quite a good guess. They're even more common than snowdrops. You see these in your school fields. You see them, you make chains out of them.
Dandelions, daffodil chains.
Yeah, nearly, another D.
Daisy chain.
Daisy chain. So daisies can be dried out. You see them everywhere. You've just got to pick the heads off them, make sure there's no green bits, and you put them flat on a surface near a sunny window, and you dry them out. And afterwards you can use them for tea. When they're fresh, I know. And when they're fresh, they can be used on bruises. They're actually used to be called like a bruise balm. Put them on a wound and it gets rid of the bruise as well. So pick your daisies and dry them out for your tea. Now, next one for you, Misha. It's got a good sound, slightly heavier. What do you think this is?
Bark.
Bark of some kind? What do you think?
Bark of the willow tree.
Bark of the willow tree.
I mean,
do you have any
I'm really
suggestions from
not
anyone
like-
that's watching? Does anyone else know? Is it date? Oh yeah, we got a good guess there. So this one is really common. It's a dandelion root. Now dandelion roots have got loads of amazing properties as well. You can use the leaves, you can break those down and make pestos out of them, but the roots make a really amazing coffee. It tastes a little bit like chai, kind of clove smelling like that. And you boil it up with milk and a little bit of honey. But the trick is when you're drying them out, after you pull up the dandelions, you want to make sure that they've got their yellow heads on them, that they haven't gone to seed yet. That's when they get all white and fluffy when you blow them away in their feathers and things like that. So you want to make sure you get them before they get like that. You dig up the roots and you dry them and you put them in the oven. But you heat them up in the oven and then they're a coffee and you join them with milk.
Cool. And will it get you the caffeine? It's not got caffeine in it though, has
It's
it?
not got caffeine in it at all. So dandelion root is a natural like caffeine alternative for people. So definitely recommend using that. What do you think this is? I know it's not very clear for the camera, so I'm sorry. I know the guesses are a little bit tricky.
They are dandelions.
Not quite. Dandelions are a little bit bigger. Smaller. It helps you go to sleep.
They are sage. Mugwort.
Mugwort. No, not quite. It's chamomile. You know chamomile? Yeah. There's loads of this stuff growing in the UK. They look a bit like daisies. They're quite tall. They've got white petals, big yellow bits of that, but you'll be able to smell the difference. And like anything, when you're drying everything out, put it by a nice big bright window to dry it all out. What do you think people have got to be careful about when they're foraging?
That they don't get poisonous plants. That they ask the plant if they can take it, because the plant might say no. That they are there's just mostly those two things.
Well, you're exactly right. One of them is definitely about understanding how much you should take. Always leave some for the bees. Never over forage in one area. Make sure you're spreading it out. The reason why this works so well is because not everyone is just taking free stuff. We take a little bit and then we share it, and then you always leave some for others as well as the animals that are around you. So that is one of the number one rules of foraging. Always think about the bees, because we need the bees to be okay. But we'll come up. I've got one last like bonus kind of risky round. This one you're gonna definitely know, I think.
Nettles.
There's a little bit of a what? No way did you guess that. Never before are you usually allowed to hold a stinging nettle with your hands like this. Or
whoa, have you burnt them?
No, you dry them out. So when you get your stinging nettle, I mean, mine's in a little box here. You can see them like this. Use it like spinach. After you pick it, you pick the top third and you cut that. You hang them until they're completely dry. All of that sting goes off when it's dried. And you can sprinkle it into your food, put it into curries. You can also eat it fresh. So as soon as you cut the stinging nettles, you can put them into your food. But about the stinging nettles, there's two really good times to pick them. Early spring and then late summer. So don't pick them now when they're just flowering. You want to do it afterwards, or when they're just when they're really young.
Wow. So when did you start like learning all of this stuff?
Recently, but I think after lockdown and everything that happened as well, and the shops being shut, and realizing that we needed to be a little bit more locally sourced because we're not able to import so much stuff, I started to look and investigate foraging, and it's everywhere. It's all around us. And the thing is, these are natural remedies. Every single one of these herbs has a property that can help you for your body. One that helps. Dandelion roots are really good for urinary tract infections, for fluids in your dietary kind of system as well. So every plant that exists, there's a matching part of it in your body that it works for. So as your guest on Share Your Smile said, you know, it kind of, and you said internally can be matched externally when you're doing the foraging. But
yeah, I go when I'm walking, and I always see a lot of wild garlic, and that the leaves smell so good, don't they? Really,
they
great.
do. You can eat the flowers in wild garlic as well, which is really, really nice. But you can smell it. That's the good thing about garlic. You can smell it from a mile off.
No, it's
But
garlic.
yeah, exactly. Thank you, Misha, for
Hey,
answering the guess your round. I really appreciate that for foraging.
I'm glad.
And thank you everyone for watching. We have got another wonderful thing lined up for you here, and we might top you up again in the summer when the berry seasons come and apple seasons come, just to give you your how to on how to pick your apples, which ones to pick, and how to make some things with the free stuff that you can forage.
Can't wait.
Next up is martial arts. So get ready, get some space going on there, and remember this video is still here. So if you want to do this workshop or you want to get this information again, you can just click back and rewatch it and get all the information. So enjoy.
Hi guys, my name's Krish.
My name's Eldin.
And today we're representing Los Hermanos MMA, and we're going to be going through a few basic fundamentals of stand-up striking and mixed martial arts. We're going to start off with going through your guard, your basic 1-2s, a few defensive techniques and footwork, and then we'll build it up as we go along from the basics.
We both come from a Muay Thai background predominantly. Krish has about 11 years training, I have about 7. But yeah, let's get into it.
Okay guys, we're going to go into the warm-up now, just before we get started, and I'd recommend going through this circuit at least 3 times before you get into the dynamic stretches and the actual workout today, just to make sure that you've warmed up well enough before we get started. Cool. So we're going to start off with just some jogging on the spot for 10 seconds, nice and light, making sure that you're using the full capacity of your lungs. I'm going to count in from 5, 3, 2, 1. Now we're going for knees up, fast as you can for 10 seconds. 5, 2, 1, and heel flicks 10 seconds. 5 seconds. Star jumps 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and last one we're going to go for 3 burpees. So down, knees up, big jump. 2, last one. 2, 1, and heel flicks 10 seconds.
Oh, come on. I've done a workout already this morning.
First exercise we'll be looking at is the lunge. It's a really good way to warm your legs up. I'm sure most of you have probably done this one before. Seeing as it is the biggest muscle group, we do want to get a lot of blood flow to this area, and it's a great way to get your heart rate up as well.
We're going to go for 3 burpees. So down, knees up.
Just make sure your back's straight and your knees don't come over your toes. And then you can add in a twist to the outside, just to make it a little bit more involved.
10 seconds.
Oh, come on. I've done a workout already
This will help you with your rotation when we move on to other exercises later on. Especially when it comes to throwing punches, we do need to have quite a good rotation in your back.
Seeing as it is the biggest muscle group, we do want to
Next
get a lot of
exercise
blood into this
is
area.
walking.
It's a great way to get your heart.
So with this one, it's almost like you're touching your toes, like
down.
hamstrings.
Just make sure your back's straight.
Touching your toes, you just want to make it a bit easier, a bit further. I'm trying to keep moving as straight as I can.
10 seconds.
Oh, come on. I've done a workout already
This will help you with your rotation when we move on. Exercises later on.
And the final thing we can do is add a bit of an advancement onto that, which combines it with a hamstring stretch. Just step forward, make sure your foot's as close to your hand as possible, and just bring it back in. And you can repeat this as many times as you want. If you did want to pause the video, rewind, go back through things, you're more than welcome to. Just take your time on this warm-up. The most important thing we can do is build a solid foundation, as with all things. So start off with your feet just wider than shoulder width, pick out a spot at the top centre, almost like a triangle shape. And if you're right-handed, bring your left foot forward, and left-handed, bring your right foot forward, because we want that power hand to be at the back, and just show you from a different angle. So just slightly wider than shoulder, mark out your point of your triangle and step forward into that. Making sure that your legs are straight and you're keeping the equal distance between them. Alright, so we're going to look at using our stance to actually implement a guard, as we'll probably need to be defending ourselves at some point. So when you bring your arms up, make sure you're using your elbow to block your ribs, shoulders slightly hunched over, just to give you that additional protection around the sides of your head and your chin. Same again, opposite foot forward this time, just cueing that shoulder and elbow tightness in as well, and then showing you from a different angle. Reinforce those cues, make sure your balance is right in the middle so you can bounce a little bit on your knees. You want to feel nice and light on your feet. And again, just from a different angle, reinforcing those cues.
At this point we did touch on moving the guard, so from your stance, as I was saying, elbow to block the ribs, hand to block the head, keeping your hands in front of you. What we're going to work on now is some more specific blocks as opposed to just holding your general guard up. So facing your partner, if you've got one, you're going to go for your standard guard, and to block your straight shots, you've got a double palm on the front. I'll show you from this angle as well. We're just going double palm on the front to stop the straight shots. This time we're going to work on the hook shot, so just throw it right. We're going to go here, left hook, okay. So when you're blocking the hooks, you're going this for straights. For hooks, to stop it coming around the sides, you can see this big gap I've got here. You're just going to cut, and you want your hand to cup the back of your head, shoulder into your chest like you're answering the phone. That's it. There we go. Cool, I'll throw some really nice straights, yeah? And we'll go 1, 2, left hook, right hook. Again, last time. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. Nice and tight guard.
Once you feel comfortable with all the things that we've just done, your guard, your stance, let's add a bit of movement into this. So we're not going to be staying static usually, so if you're going forward you want to drive with your lead leg first, and just make sure you're keeping that equal distance in between your legs whilst you step. So we'll go backwards this time, and this time we're going to lead with the rear leg. Now left side, starting off with your lead leg, big step across, again making sure you've got that equal distance in between your feet at all times, and then we're stepping to the right, leading with the right leg. To begin the strikes, we're going to start off with the most basic, which is your jab. So reinforce the cue, get in your guard, and we're going to be using the lead foot this time to twist and propel that arm forward. So lead foot goes in, hips follow along with the shoulder, and then you can just propel your arm forward, making sure you keep your opposite arm nice and tight and against the body, blocking those head shots and body shots from coming in. So foot first, hip and shoulder, and all of those should sort of twist naturally together. So I'm just going to show it on the opposite side for all the left-handers. So if you aren't going to use the foot, the hip and the shoulder, you can see there's not really much power in there at all, and the range is definitely decreased. As Eldon will show here, you can see that the range increases massively just by adding on that twist of the foot. Now we're going to show the straight punch, following on from the jab. It follows on really nicely because all you're doing is throwing your weight the other way. So you're twisting inwards, and then you're going to use your lead foot to spin slightly out, rear foot transition, drive off that back foot, straight up through your shoulder, and throw your arm out, just like you do with the jab. So that rear straight is your power punch. So if you are right-handed, your right hand should be at the back. And I'm just going to show you from a different angle again. So we're going to reinforce them cues again. Step forward into your guard, use the jab, and then just practice following on with that. So cue again, we're going for a southpaw or left-handed straight this time, just so you can see it from a different angle. Make sure you're transferring your weight and driving off that rear leg.
This time I'm going to show you a little exercise you can do with a ball if you are by yourself, you're not got anyone to train with. Same again, start off just slightly wider than shoulder width. Take your step forward in your guard. You're going to start off with the ball in your left hand. So what I want you to do, you're just going to extend nice and slow. Check your posture from this angle, make sure everything's alright. And then from here, on the retreat, I'm going to just switch as it's coming through. I want to just pass the ball back. Same again. And it's just a good way to get you in the rhythm of doing things. But notice how in between my shots, I'm sinking my weight down on the shot. So I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4. That sink is just so we can get a bit more power into the shot on the drive. I'll show you from the side now. So going 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. If that's a bit too easy for you, you want to try something a bit more advanced, get the ball, instead of swapping hands this time, you're just going to let it go and fire. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to step in your guard this time. Instead of going straight forward, we're going that way instead. So we're twisting on. So we're going to go whichever way you prefer. You can either do it this way or you can go that way, just depending on whichever your wrist feels better at. So we're going to go 1 and back in again. So just notice how I'm twisting on this lead leg. 2, good. And back in again. Get that full twist and really drag your shoulder around that way. 3, good. Okay, so now we're going to switch guards and we're going to go for the other lead. Going in this time. Same again, we're going around this way. So we're coming in again. You want to start off. 1, 2. Same again, you can either go that side or that side. Just make sure this elbow's high. I'll explain why in just a little while. So we're going to go 1, last 3, 2, 3. So now let's take into account everything we've just done, movements and combination punching. We're going to add them both in together now. So let's start off in our guard. First one we're going to go through is your basic jab and how to move forward with your jab. So anytime you move forward, you want to start with your lead foot, follow in with your rear, but we want to keep that equal distance in between the two. So we start off here, and with your jab, I want you to almost imagine you're stepping over something on the floor. So we're going to lift up first. So you're going to lift up, and this just facilitates a step with the power. So we're going to go 1, and as you step down, that's when the power comes in. So we're going to go again, 1, and again, 2, and last one, 3, cool. And we're just going to show you from another angle as well, this side. We're going to start off now, advancing to our opponent. You might find you've not got enough room to throw the punches, or maybe a bit too close or a bit too far, either way. So what we're going to do from here, so you can see now that my partner's just a little bit out of range. Yeah? So if I want to make up the distance, same again, I'm going to drive off this lead foot. I'm going to step in, 1, 2, after we've thrown it, then we're going to come back out this way, back out again. So we're stepping in, one way, throwing your punches and back out again. So I'll show you one more time. Even if your jab is out of range, you can still follow up with the second strike. So as I'm coming in here, if I find myself short on this side, I can still drive through with that number 2, because it's just a little bit longer range than that first one. So that concludes our video of some of the basics today. We've been through your guard, some movement, how to defend yourself, and we've given you a few exercises to do whilst you're at home as well. Hope you liked the video. If you do want to see more, you can get at us on Instagram, los_hermanos MMA. Just drop us a message, let us know if you've got any recommendations or you want to see something else next time. Thanks for watching, take care.
Okay, so thank you so much, martial arts master, for that wonderful thing. So we've got one more thing for you guys before the end of the show, and that is going to be an animation video by the wonderful Heather. Okay, so thank you so much, martial arts baby, entirely. I don't think she knows that we're going to play it, but yeah, it's her and somebody else that's done the animation. It's on her Instagram, so we're going to share that with you, and then we'll come back to wish you goodbye and a wonderful evening. And remember, if you do want to get involved, you have anything you want to share, you want to do a course for us, you want to do a workshop, you want to just smile, please get involved with us.
You can get involved with us at Baba, BABA @naya.digital. It's on our page, but do drop us an email. We're always on the lookout for new people to get involved. Take it away.
Come over here and sit on the floor, right by the window, away from the door. I'll tell you a tale about the pink elf who sat on a pine cone and not on a shelf. The pine cone was prickly and it made the elf hurt, so he threw it away to go live in the dirt. The dirt was all wet and it made the elf sneeze, so he packed his bags to go and live in the leaves. The leaves were all crusty and it made the elf itch, so he packed his bag to go and live in a ditch. The ditch got filled in by a massive blue door, but the pink elf is happy. He lives under my floor.
Outro.
Oh, it was a short one.
Welcome back. One amazing animation. We're sorry for the technical difficulty there at the beginning, but I hope you guys caught it with the sound and the voice over the end of it, because that was fantastic. Thank you for joining us again on this amazing Tuesday, just before the rains are coming in. If you want to follow anything that's been going on, we're going to post all the details onto our page. And yet again, please, if anyone wants to get involved, then send us an email, baba@naya.digital. Again, all the details are on our page, but we want to get involved with you. We want to hear what you want to hear, and what you want to see, and what you want to share. So get in touch. Bric is saying goodbye. Bric is saying bye for now, bye for now. Bye for now. Millie is the brains behind this operation. You may not see her, she is in the station, pulling all the strings, making us on the screen. Bric is bye-bye, see you later. Fade out, fade out.